So, what is the fundamental shape of an economy? It's a question that, believe it or not, has been at the center of a huge debate among economists for, well, over a century. And it all boils down to understanding one thing: the aggregate supply curve. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most powerful and controversial ideas about it. But let's start with an even bigger question, one that really gets to the heart of why this all matters. When an economy hits a rough patch, a recession hits, unemployment starts to rise, can it actually heal itself? Can it get back on track all on its own without any help? To even begin to answer a question that big, we need the right tool. And for economists, that tool is the aggregate supply curve. So first things first, let's break down exactly what we're talking about. At its core, the idea is actually pretty straightforward. The aggregate supply curve just shows us the relationship between two key things. On one hand, you have the overall price level in the economy. We'll just call that P. And on the other, you have the total amount of stuff, all the goods and services that the economy produces. We'll call that Y for output. That's it. Price level versus total output. Okay, so let's jump into our first major theory, the classical view. And you might want to brace yourself because this school of thought comes to a conclusion about the economy that is, well, it's incredibly stark. And honestly, when you first hear it, it seems to fly in the face of common sense. So here it is. The classical argument is this: the total amount of stuff an economy can produce is completely fixed. It doesn't matter if prices shoot through the roof or if they fall off a cliff. The economy's total output, our Y, stays exactly the same. Your first reaction is probably, wait, what? How on earth could that be true? When you draw this out, it's just as stark as it sounds. The classical aggregate supply curve isn't really a curve at all. It's a perfectly vertical line. It stands straight up, fixed at a very specific spot called the full employment level of output. You can think of this as the economy's absolute speed limit. It's the maximum potential output you can get when pretty much everyone who wants a job has one and all our resources are being used efficiently. Okay, so how can anyone make such a bold claim? Well, the entire theory hinges on one single, incredibly powerful assumption: that wages and prices are perfectly flexible. This means they can adjust instantly, and I mean instantly, to any change in the economy. This flexibility is the secret sauce. It's the engine that makes the whole classical model run. And to see how, we need to look at where wages actually come from. Right. To see that engine in action, we've got to pop the hood of the economy and look at a different market. Not the market for goods and services, but the market for people, the labor market. Trust me, understanding what happens here is the key to unlocking why that line is vertical. Now, before we go any further, we have to get this next distinction crystal clear. First, there's your nominal wage. That's just the number on your paycheck, right? Say $20 an hour. But then there's your real wage, and that's what really matters. It's what that $20 can actually buy. It's your true purchasing power, and it completely depends on the prices of everything else. And the relationship between them is super simple. Your real wage is just your nominal wage, we'll call it W, divided by the overall price level, P. So think about it. If your $20 an hour nominal wage stays the same, but all the prices in the economy suddenly get cut in half, your real wage, your actual purchasing power, has just doubled. This little formula is the lever that makes the whole system work. Okay, let's put all these pieces together. We're about to see how this pretty amazing self-correcting mechanism is supposed to work in the real world. We're going to walk through a chain reaction, step by step. So let's run a little thought experiment. Imagine that, for some reason, the overall price level across the entire economy suddenly drops. Everything's on sale. According to the classical view, what happens next? Okay, let's trace this out. Step 1, prices fall. Step 2, your nominal wage hasn't changed yet, so your real wage, your purchasing power, has just gone up. That sounds great for you, but step 3, it's bad for businesses. To them, you just got more expensive. So they hire fewer people, and suddenly unemployment starts to appear. Step 4, now that all-important assumption kicks in. With a bunch of people looking for work, that competition forces nominal wages to fall. Step 5, as those nominal wages come down, the real wage gets pushed right back down to where it started. And finally, step 6, the labor market clears. Everyone's back to work, and the economy snaps right back to its original state of full employment. And that is the incredibly powerful conclusion of this whole thing. For the classical school, this mechanism is almost like a law of physics. The flexibility of wages and prices acts like a perfect invisible hand, constantly pushing and pulling the economy right back to its maximum potential, right back to that state of full employment.
So that was a pretty deep dive into the labor market, right? But what does that whole incredible story have to do with our original question? The one about that weird vertical supply curve? Let's connect the dots.
The implication here is just massive. It means that no matter what happens to prices, the economy has a built-in reset button. That self-correcting labor market ensures that the economy will always, and I mean always, return to producing at its full employment level. Output is fixed because, in the long run, the economy simply can't produce any more or any less. It's already at its peak. And if you believe the economy always fixes itself, the policy advice is simple. The government should just get out of the way.
All right, so as we wrap this up, let's just lock in the three big things to remember. Number one, the classical aggregate supply curve is a vertical line. Number two, this means output is always stuck at its full employment potential. And number three, and this is the big one, the entire theory stands or falls on that single assumption, that wages and prices are perfectly and instantly flexible.
Which, of course, leaves us with a final, really fascinating question. The classical model is this beautiful, logical machine, and it's all built on that one idea of perfect flexibility. But when you look around at the real world, does that feel right to you? Do you see wages and prices that can change in an instant, or are things, a little bit stickier? That exact question is what would eventually lead to a total revolution in how we think about economics.